Up Show, hosted by me, Latanya Taylor. We have now with us Miss Stacey Hawkins Adams. Did I say that right? Okay, good. Who's now joined us. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Well, I've read some great things on you. I'm very, very excited. So I definitely want to hear about your books and all that you have going on, and how long you've been writing. I know some of the highlights for me. We'll get into that. But let's first just talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
I know you have a family, you're married, and all those great things,
Yeah.
which is definitely a blessing. Congratulations. Let's talk about you and how you got into writing and all the things that you're doing.
Okay. Well, like you said, I'm married. I have 2 children, a 12-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old son. And I heard Yolanda mention that she has a journalism degree. I also have a background in journalism. And I'm one of those people that started writing in childhood and kind of knew that I always wanted to be a writer. So majored in journalism. And I was a reporter at the Richmond Times-Dispatch for 13 years, worked at a couple of newspapers before that. And probably about 10 years into my journalism career, decided that I wanted to go back to my childhood dream of writing novels. So started writing the fiction, and it took me 3 years off and on to write my first novel, and that's Speak to My Heart, and that was published back in 2004.
Okay.
And I now have 6 novels out, but 7 books. My first nonfiction book was released May 1st.
Wow. Okay, so you've been able to accomplish all this in time frame of...
About 6 years, I guess. The first book came out in 2004, so I've been cranking the books out.
So it's definitely been a lot easier for you. Once you got the first one out there, they just started kind of all coming together.
Right, exactly. Kind of once you, I guess you make a connection with a publishing company and that first book does well, then they begin to ask you to write more books. So that's been really good.
Who do you think your readers are? Have you had an opportunity to really tap into who's reading your books? Who is that audience
Who's that
for you?
target audience?
Yeah, who's
That's a
that
good
target
question.
audience for you?
I guess I would primarily say, and that's a question that they ask you on book proposals.
Oh,
So initially, I guess I would say it's African American women, and I write faith-based books. I say with everyday themes, so hopefully they're not preachy books, but you always have a character who's either deeply involved in their faith or running away from God or angry with God. So you always have some element of faith in the book. So for me, I'm writing to people who are strong in their faith, but also people who are questioning or struggling with the whole God thing, because I'm always trying to, be realistic. And a lot of people, they think Christians are holier than thou, but many of them are struggling and making the same mistakes as everyone else. And I just try to cover that in my book. So I guess technically it's really for, a woman from every walk of life, and it starts out with the African American audience, but it definitely has expanded beyond that.
Okay. Good. Well, talk to us about what do you have, what's the most recent projects, and talk to us about those books that are currently out now.
Okay.
So they can hear a little bit about that.
Okay, the most recent project is a 3-book series. My novels are a 3-book series called the Jubilant Soul series, and it's set in a fictional Texas town. And the first book in that series is called The Someday List, and that was on the Essence bestsellers list for about 9 months after it came out in January of 2009. The second book in that series is Worth 1,000 Words, and the third and most recent is Dreams That Won't Let Go. So that sort of wraps up that series. And then the second book that I had released this year was Who Speaks to Your Heart, Tuning In to Hear God's Whispers. And that's the nonfiction book, which is more of a devotional type book.
What's closer to your heart? You think about all the complexities of things that you're writing about. What's more dear to you? What's more Stacey?
Probably the fiction, actually. I have more fun. I really like writing the nonfiction because I was a journalist for so long, and I wrote a column for the newspaper. I actually still write for them. I write a parenting column.
Okay.
So I enjoy the nonfiction because it allows me to tell other people's stories, but I think the fiction is probably closer to my heart because I can create the characters and just let them do whatever I want them to do, and I enjoy that.
All right, you said you got a parents column. What is that about? We probably should have had you here had you here for the last show.
Oh, I saw that last show.
Did you see that? Whoa, right? What's the parenting column? What is that about?
I explore everything from teens and sex to my column that was in this past Sunday was just talking about, everybody's talking about the Gulf oil spill and, how can kids be more environmentally savvy. I've talked about parents who have disabilities and how do you raise your kids if you're dealing with that issue. How do you help kids deal with death? So, anything that parents are facing, I try to write about.
So is this your full-time job now? Is this all that you do? I mean, this is what you do?
Yeah, this is what I do. I do a little bit of everything. I tell people I could move to Jamaica if I wanted to. I write the books. I do the freelance writing, and I do a lot of public speaking. And a lot of times I will have speeches based off of the themes in my novels because, you know, my first novel, Speak to My Heart, that's talking about self-acceptance and forgiveness. Dreams That Won't Let Go, that talks about how you love somebody unconditionally even if you don't believe in the dreams that they have. So I have I give a lot of speeches around those themes.
Is anything based upon things that you've been through and you've experienced, and that's kind of the message you're trying to get out to people?
People ask me that all the time. Which character are you?
Who are you in this?
I'm not Serena in the first series because my first 3 books were part of a series too, and I think Cassandra said she's read the first book in that series. So I'm not Serena or Erica or any of those characters, and I would say probably not in the second book, but as a writer, they say you always write what you know, so I'm sure parts of me are all of my characters. But with my nonfiction book, Who Speaks to Your Heart, this is truly my personal story because that book, when they asked me to write that book, at first they were like, oh, we just want you to write a book of devotions. And I thought, oh, I can do that. So then they changed it and said, no, we want you to tell people how to hear from God. So I had to write about my personal journey to make that happen.
Is that conflicting? Do people get offended a little bit when you start talking about God in your books?
You know what? I write in a way where hopefully they don't. And if you look at the covers of my books, you won't see a cross or any of that. So it's really a subtle message because everybody knows somebody who has a relationship with God or who's a Christian or who's a preacher or a first lady. So you know somebody in that role. And so in my books, I'm just writing about the person who's walking through life and you happen to have this other person in your life. And how does it impact you wherever you are, whether you're struggling or you don't even believe in God? How does it impact you to have this person of faith in your life? So usually it's not preachy.
Okay. What about your kids? Are they inspired by you, that knowing that you're writing? What is that like for your children? Have you seen that they begin to write?
You know what? They're both great writers, according to their teachers. I won't say from my perspective. But yeah, their teachers think they're great writers, but they don't. Neither one of them want to be writers. And they're not so much fazed by me. You know, they just see me as mommy. They come to my book signings. They think it's great. Whenever I get a book in the mail, we have a big celebration around it. But, you know, I'm just mom to them, so that's really good.
How does it feel to be on the Essence bestseller list? I mean, what is that experience?
That's been great because, I mean, it just really exposes the books to a wider national audience. And I guess for me, it's just been really humbling because I get emails from people around the country who say, oh, I saw your book in the library, or I liked the cover and I bought it and I picked it up and then I started reading it and wow, this changed my life. I was actually at a writers conference for book club members in Atlanta 2 weeks ago, and they had the readers to vote on the different authors' books, and my books won the most life-changing book award from the readers there. So that was really humbling.
Well, good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, you guys know what we have to do. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Miss Yolanda Holmes, Wendell Moss, and Miss Stacey Hawkins Adams. And we're going to have some more conversation with them in regard to their books and just writing in general. Thanks for joining the Stir It Up Show.